Okay.
All right. Here we go. We're taking this example here. Okay. Again, I'm showing you this for one reason and one reason only. Your IA. Like I told you guys before, study students tend to do a statistics type of IA because they think it's easier. It's things that they can control more than trying to figure out something else relating to another topic. So, and a lot of times students tend to have it as their topic. Is there a relationship between two pieces of data, and then they never do a scatter plot, or they never do a regression line, which makes no sense because that talks about a correlation or a relationship between the two variables. Yes.
Are there I'm guessing they do it because you can bring in like specific subjects and talk about history and background with them. Are there any other like subjects like trig or for geometry that would really
almost definitely. There's definitely other topics in there. So, 10 students train for a charity walk. The table shows the average number of hours per week that each member trains and the time taken is completed. Please make sure you make this change. I don't know why I put 12.9. It should be a 15.9. Please make that change. So you have your data. We're going to find the correlation coefficient and the equation of the regression line by hand. Okay? So, if you recall, and some of you all might have to flip over, or you are going to have your correlation notes out, okay? But keep this formula right here, these formulas nearby, okay? Keep these formulas nearby. So, it's an easy way to do this if you organize everything into a table, okay? And this table basically allows you to see nice and neatly each part that you'll need to do the formula, okay? So, the X column represents the X values from your data, okay? What represents X in your data? The training time. So we're just going to fill that in. Okay, we're going to fill in all of our data. If this was your IA, this is what you would do to figure out if there was a relationship between your data. Okay? And also fill in your Y's while you're at it. Okay? And make sure that very first piece of data is a 15.9, not a 12.9. Okay? Now, can you guys also, along the first row in your table, fill in where you need to have the bars? So for the second column, you'll see on your paper just says X minus X. It should be X minus X bar, Y minus Y bar. Make sure you fill those in as well. Okay. What does the X bar mean? The mean. How do you find the mean?
Add them all together and divide by total number.
Add them all up and then divide by however many we have. So let's just do that right now. Let's add up 9, 18, 12, all those. Add them up. Somebody tell me what the sum is.
105.
This line down here, this is basically like my sum line, if you haven't noticed, okay? It's like my total line. That's why I have it there. Okay, so I'm going to take 105 and I'm going to divide it by 10. That's going to be what?
10.5.
10.5. That is our mean. So what we need to do is we need to subtract every one of these X values from 10.5, okay? So let's go ahead and let's fill in this table right here. We're taking all of our X values and subtracting 10.5.
I did. It was me.
All right, hold up on the side talking. So we're doing the exact same thing for our Y's. We're going to add up all the Y's, divide by 10, and then whatever the mean is, we're going to take our Y values and subtract it from the mean. Can someone tell me what the sum is real quick?
154.8.
154.8?
Yes.
So your mean was 15.48? three-stick figure. Do not three-stick figure.
What? I already.
So don't three-stick figure. Just write the number.
Do you still, like, if you have the same, if you keep this lesson the same next year, do you just, like, do a new video still? So are these, like, changed to them?
No, I haven't taught studies since I started recording my videos, so I'm gonna basically do every single video. I record every single video. So next year.
Or the
So
beginning
next
of
year
like,
you just have them watch videos to teach you?
If it pisses me off.
I'm surprised you don't have that one yet.
Yeah,
Well,
you
thank you.
got it.
We're meant to do this, right?
Well, then, did you have a single class before us? Or are we gonna first
No.
class that has those things?
just sixth grade.
Oh,
Sixth grade to the sex.
They get to watch videos. Oh, they got to watch videos.
Really?
Yeah, when I've been absent.
Yeah,
Oh, whatever.
that and,
Not due to anger.
Do you have excuses to miss work? Do you have
All right, so then the next column, as you can see, is we're gonna multiply the x minus x bar number by the y minus y bar number. So basically my numbers that I put in red so you can distinguish them easily, we're gonna multiply them together and then fill in that column, okay? So everybody do that.
What are your numbers?
Do not round, do not round.
Got it.
Okay, so the correction is this number here.
yeah, that's exactly.
That should be a 10.5. Thank you. That would throw everything off.
We would have been here for 30 minutes, right?
Trying to figure out. But everything else looks good? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna start multiplying now. These are the numbers that I got for the multiplication. All right, so I'm gonna say this again. After I make these changes, please double check behind me and see if I made a mistake anywhere else. So you're saying here
I
and
blame Gabe.
this one?
Right there.
Are there any other ones that need to be fixed?
You're spinning around really weird.
That doesn't mean anything, Gabe.
Y'all, I am recording.
That's right.
Okay, look at the greens. Do the greens match what you guys have? All right, so now the next column says to basically take each one of the values that are in the green and then divide them by n. N was the number of pieces of data we had, which was what? 10. So we need to take all these values and basically divide them by 10. Now a shortcut when you divide by 10 is basically moving it over to the what? Move it to the left. So then this will be a negative 0.063, a 0.17. What you guys do is check your numbers with my numbers. So there's a blue box down here for a reason. Because if you recall from the correlation notes, the numerator is the sum of all of this entire row. So we need to add all these numbers up and find the total that's going to go down here in this box. And that's going to be the numerator for our correlation coefficient and the numerator for in our regression line. So let's add all these numbers up. I have a number, but I want to double check with you guys. Okay. So negative 6.72. Okay, this is the sum of this entire column, and it's also the numerator, like I said, of our correlation coefficient. All right. No, that's the number that I got. No rounding has been involved at all. The next two columns are pretty much straightforward. We're basically taking the red columns and squaring them. Okay? So the numbers here that are in the x minus x bar column, we're squaring them, writing them down. Same thing with our y's. We're squaring them, writing them down, and we do need a total for both of them. Okay? So let's do that now, and then we'll compare answers. Alright, so if you took basically the red columns and squared them, this should have been your result, and then these should have been your sums. And now for the big moment of truth. We are finding the correlation coefficient. Okay? We are finding the correlation coefficient. So, I'm going to give you a little bit of space. Okay? And I'm mostly concerned about the numbers at the bottom of anything. So the formula for the correlation coefficient is this. Right?
Yeah.
And what was S sub xy?
Sum of x.
That was the sum of the x minus x and y minus y we're in.
Yeah.
So it's basically this number right here. The number that's down here in this blue box in blue writing, dark blue writing, that's your numerator. Now, S sub x, wasn't that the formula, the square root of the sum? Wasn't it this?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have the numerator already for S sub x. That's what's the brownish color. Okay? So we basically need to take this number that's the brownish color, divide it by n, which is 10. What's 458.5 divided by 10?
45.85.
So we are basically taking the square root of 45.85. That's S sub x. We're going to multiply that by the square root of S sub y, which is the exact same formula except with y's instead. So we need to take the 16.736 number divided by 10. What do you get?
1.6736.
And all you have to do is type this in and get your correlation coefficient. You want to break it up into pieces, that's fine, you can.
So you would be on.
To find the correlation coefficient. And there is the correlation coefficient. Rounded three significant figures is negative point
Today.
767. And that's our answer for A.
What?
Check this out. Yes, that was only A. We found the correlation coefficient, but the regression line, we've already found all the pieces we need to write the regression line, okay? The formula. The formula for the regression line is y minus y bar equals S sub xy over S sub x, correct?
God save me.
Yeah, no, you lost.
Yes, it is.
The formula on the other side of the page. Isn't that it?
Yes.
Now, mind you, you do not have to remember this.
Okay, it's S sub x squared.
Thank you.
There's no rescue.
Okay?
I'm out of space.
Now, realize, guys, we have these answers already. We have the mean for y. It's right here. So it's going to be y minus 15.48 equals, we know what S sub xy is. That was the numerator. So it's going to be negative 6.72 over S sub x. We found that already to be the square root of 45.85.
Hold on, wait.
When you square root it, you drop the square root.
God, you're a genius.
Give me my diploma now.
Then x minus x bar, which is the mean for the x's, which we already have.
You plug it in and go. What if I get it on my phone?
Well, then you would not have a social life anymore.
Okay?
What is it?
Now let's simplify this. Let's divide the fraction. Let's distribute distribute it over and let's get in the slope-intercept form, okay? Let's get this into slope-intercept form. This is the answer part. This is the answer. Okay? What's that? What's negative 6.72 divided by 45.85?
Negative .147.
147.
You want 3, 6, 8, 6?
Yeah, we're going 3, 6, 6. Let's distribute that over and let's get our equation to slope-intercept form. After a while, I'm not gonna be able to scroll down anymore.
I'm there.
Hey, you have to stop.
Minus days.
What you guys get when you multiply this by 10.5? Negative 2.
Give me a sec. Negative 1.4 or 1.54.
That should be positive 2 negatives.
I don't know. You can have it back.
17 here.
Yeah.
And there's your regression line.
Dang.
Okay.
No.
Last part, part C.
Why'd you do it?
Part C. It says to use our equation, which is correct, and I'm so proud, estimate how many minutes it will take the student who trains 18 hours per week to complete the walk. We're plugging 18 in for X. So, that's simple enough.
Oh, wow.
And what's the answer? 14.4? And that's going to be in minutes? Yes.
For my equation, 4 is plus 17, I have plus
This is how you find the correlation coefficient, that's part A at the top, the regression line, by hand. Again, I only expect you to do this for your IA. On a test, please use the calculator method, okay?